You are viewing a preview of this guide. Please log in to complete it. Open the Google Play console. Click Create App. Enter a name for your app. If you want, you can slightly differ from the app name you configured on our website. For example, if your app's name is normally ABC Shop, you could add additional information by using ABC Shop Buy Clothes Online as the name in the Google Play Store. Select the main language of your website as default language. Pick App, unless your website is a game. Decide whether downloading your app should be free or cost money. Click the checkboxes to agree to the developer program and Play app signing policies, as well as the U.S. export laws. More information on export compliance. Click Create App at the bottom right. Scroll down a bit to the Setup section and click View Tasks. Make sure you are looking at the Setup section and not one of the Testing or Release sections. Now go through each task one by one. Here are some tips and explanations for each task. Always be as detailed as possible. This greatly increases the chances of your app getting approved. Privacy policy. Enter the link to your website's privacy policy. Your privacy policy must fulfill the following criteria. It must contain a way to contact you, e.g. email address. It must describe what data you collect. It must describe how long you keep and when you delete the data. It must be called a privacy policy, e.g. in the title of the page. It must contain your website or app's name. After you have saved a step, you can get back to the overview with the remaining tasks by clicking one of the dashboard buttons at the top of the page. Alternatively, you can use the direct links in this guide. App access. If your website has an account system, you need to provide a test account to the app reviewers. The test account should be a regular user account of your website app. It doesn't need to have special admin permissions. Please double-check that the test account you provided works. If the app reviewers can't log in with it, your app will be rejected. Ads. We don't add any ads to your app. However, if your website displays ads, those will be shown in the app too. So if your website shows ads, pick Yes, my app contains ads content rating. You will have to fill a questionnaire asking you about the contents of your app. Always answer truthfully to avoid issues later on. If you can't click the Next button, you might need to click the Save button first. Target audience. Pick the age of your typical user. This is independent from the content rating. For example, if your app is for your website about plumbing, pick 18 and over, because that's probably your usual customer's age. Your content rating might still be suitable for all ages, as your app doesn't contain any content that is harmful for children. If your target audience is younger, you might have to fill in additional information. News app. The policy on this is not very clear, but from my understanding, this applies mostly to general news apps/websites. Blogs about a certain topic probably aren't considered a news app. If your app is a news app, make sure you follow the guidelines and provide the necessary information. News app policy. COVID-19 apps. Select whether your app is related to COVID-19. If it is, you might have to provide further information and prove that you have the necessary permissions by local authorities. Data safety. Does your app collect or share any of the required user data types? Yes. Is all of the user data collected by your app encrypted in transit? Yes. Select how users can log in on your website app. Logging in with an email can also be considered a username. Add a link to your website where users can delete their account. The account deletion doesn't have to be automatic. A form to request account deletion and you manually deleting the data is fine too. If you use our delete account feature in your app, you can select Yes and enter the delete data URL from your dashboard. Select all the data types your website collects or shares with other services, e.g. payment providers. Data from these sections is the most common. Personal info, financial info, if users can pay for things on your website, photos and videos, if users can upload photos or videos to your website, app activity, if you use analytics software on your website, you should tick page views and taps in app. App info and performance, always tick crash logs, as we collect those. Your website analytics software might also collect performance data, in which case you'd have to tick diagnostics. Next, you'll have to go through every type of data you collected and provide more information on it. Does the data get collected? You will always need to tick this checkbox. Does the data get shared? Only tick this if the data is shared with a third party. You also don't need to tick this box if any of the following conditions apply. You're sharing the data with a service provider that just processes the data for you. The data sharing is initiated by the user. It is very clear to the user that they are sharing the data with a third party. The data has been fully anonymized, which is often the case with analytics data. These exemptions should usually apply to the financial data your users enter when they use a payment service, like PayPal, to purchase something from your site. Is this data processed ephemerally? You can click yes if you just use the data for something once and don't store it. If you store the data for longer, click no. Is the collection of this type of data required, or can the app also be used without it? Keep your cookie pop-ups in mind. These usually allow the user to use the app website without analytics data being collected. Lastly, select what the data is used for. For crash logs, select only collected. The data doesn't count as being shared as it's anonymized. Select that the crash data is not processed ephemerally, only while it's in memory. Unless your app uses the just website layout, select that it's optional, as crash reporting can be disabled in the app settings. Select analytics as the reason for data collection. Government apps. Select whether your app website is developed by or for a government. Financial features. Read through all these financial features and think about whether your app includes any of those. For example, if you have an online shop, you receive payments, but that does not mean you need to tick mobile payments and digital wallets or money transfer and wire services. Those are intended for banking apps. You might have a buy now, pay later option, like Klarna in your shop though. Most apps don't include any of the listed financial features. In that case, you should select My app doesn't provide any financial features. App category and contact details. Select whichever category fits your app/website best. Also add a contact email address. This email will be public. App Store listing. Describe your app in detail. Usually, it's better not to just copy a text from your website, but instead take a look at other popular apps' descriptions on the Play Store and write your own then. We generated this app description as an inspiration for you. Of course, double-check that it is accurate and makes sense before using it. Suggested app description. Copy, upload the needed graphics for your app. You can download your app icon and an example feature graphic in the correct sizes in your app icon settings. You can also create your own feature graphic. It's supposed to be a promotional image for your app. Screenshots. You can take screenshots automatically here. Alternatively, you can manually take screenshots here. If you'd like to edit your screenshots, we recommend that you check out our guide on taking and editing screenshots to make sure you follow the Play Store guidelines. Make sure you follow the Google Play Developer Guidelines. These are some common mistakes. Do not include any mention of COVID-19 in your app description. Your app will be immediately rejected unless you provide a governmental approval. This is Google's approach to combat misinformation on the topic, but sadly, it also mistakenly affects a lot of apps that aren't even about the topic. Don't call or describe your app as the best app for, or ultimate app, as Google considers that to be deceptive. Advertising ID. Navigate to the Advertising ID page by clicking the above link or by clicking App Content at the bottom of the side menu and then start the questionnaire for the Advertising ID. Select No in the questionnaire because the app does not use the Advertising ID. Select No even if there are ads on your website. They don't need the Android Advertising ID and they can't access it anyways. If you answer yes here, you will get an error later. I've completed all the steps in this guide. Once you've completed all the steps in this guide, please click this button so you can continue with the next guides.